It's Rob Bauer with Sharp College Football, and it's the Thursday, Saturday 6. I have a commitment on Saturday morning, so we're gonna record right now and go live on Twitch right now, and then it'll post to YouTube on Saturday morning, just like usual. Anywho, I'm excited. This is a really fun weekend. I mean, we have some teams that look like they're starting to separate themselves from the pack, if you will. Of course, Georgia and Alabama come to mind. I don't know that Michigan is in their league, but up to this point, they have certainly played better than anyone in the Big Ten. We also get to see, of course, some teams that, you might have some questions about, right? Like, what really is Iowa going to be? How far can this defense really take them? They get a somewhat more balanced Penn State team. We're absolutely going to cover that game today. And then, true too. I mean, we get, a BYU squad that's undefeated against a pretty weak schedule, but looks pretty good. They're hitting right about where we projected them at 29. But they do have a nice win against Arizona State at home with some turnovers, but that happens. they've been some of the, and I think this is true too. There are quite a few teams out there in this early part of the season. I mean, I joke around, but it's entirely true. I mean, part of what, how that data is real versus simulated is that, within the data, you will find streaks, right? And so people will see instances where, and they assume that what they're seeing is, something that will continue or carry forward. And I'm not saying it won't. I mean, that's the thing about streaks is they can continue for a good long time. But, what we think of as randomness and the way humans think of randomness and the way randomness actually works is really two different things, right? And so you will see longer streaks than humans would think of or predict in real data, right? And so, we do have quite a few teams in the early part of this season that have had a lot of turnover luck. And how much of that carries forward, we're going to find out and how long it can continue, if you will. But for some of these teams, when the turnover luck runs out, like they're going to find themselves in a very different kind of game than they've been playing up to this point. So I'm excited to see this. There are going to be some games and some teams that that we're not going to cover, but I mean, I'm excited to see Ohio State play Maryland. Maryland doesn't have a great offense, but they have a good enough offense that we should get an idea of where this Ohio State defense is really going to fall and sit. And I think that's going to be interesting to see as well. So I'm excited. Let's go ahead and jump in and do the games for this week because we've got 6 good ones. So right off the bat, we get Michigan and Nebraska. This is a really good game. I mean, Nebraska's been a little under the radar. They have the losses, but they've been playing well under the radar. I know that sounds odd, but they've been playing well under the radar. Jim Harbaugh, of course, is your head coach at Michigan. Scott Frost is your head coach at Nebraska. Into this game they come. They've got, Michigan's offense right now, as I try to adjust my monitor to get the best view of it and somewhat aligned with the camera. Michigan's offense right now is excellent. This is the best that they've been under Gaddis by a long shot. They've had some numbers in some years where they haven't been anywhere near this range. Usually they're in the top 20-ish. This is a really, really good number for Gaddis in this Michigan offense. They've been excellent at drive efficiency, turning, drives into points without necessarily having to rely on explosive plays. Very good at play efficiency, very good at negative drives, not allowing a lot of 3-and-outs and turnovers to happen to them. One of the things to watch out for, though, is they have not had a lot of explosive plays. I mean, their explosive drives number is a little lower. They're a real hard running team. Number 2 in effective rush, number 54 in effective pass. If you want to stop Michigan, you got to stop the run. This Nebraska defense has been a little better. They're number 12. This is, certainly better than where they've been in some of the prior years. They've got some real interesting skew to their numbers, though. Very good at drive efficiency. They do find a way to get off the field, not give up long drives for points. Pretty good at explosive drives at 25 and play efficiency at 26 at containing big plays, not giving up a lot of yards per play. Where they're really, really struggling right now is negative drives, not forcing enough 3 and outs, not forcing enough turnovers, not imposing enough bad things on the opposing offense. Something to keep an eye on. And their run pass split is not necessarily what you want when you're facing Michigan. Now, what might be interesting to see here is Nebraska's pass defense good enough that they can, bring a safety down, bring some guys down in to help in the run game and not get burned over the top. If that's the case, then they have a shot here. I don't love where this run pass split is now for this Nebraska defense. I think that versus this Michigan offense is a little bit of a watch out, even though I do think this Nebraska defense is still a lot better than they've been in recent years. All right, hit the button again. Flip it around. And you've got Nebraska's offense sits at 23. This isn't a great Power 5 offense by any stretch of anyone's imagination. They're kind of a fringy top 25 offense right now. They haven't been great at play efficient or drive efficiency. That's something they really need to work on, being more consistent, being able to string together plays and turn them into points. But their explosive drives number is not terrible. Pretty good at play efficiency there when, the yards per play. And that tells you when you see a play efficiency like that, where you're getting a decent yards per play, controlling for opponent and field position, but your drive efficiency is not great. They really have to work on consistency, right? Their negative drives numbers are right. They're a lot better running the ball than they are throwing the ball. Something to watch out for is Martinez's ability to run with the football coming into this game. They get and your offensive play caller here is Matt Lubick. They get a Michigan defense under Mike McDonald that's been pretty good. Now they're not in anywhere near the kind of range where we would talk about with Georgia or Iowa or Wisconsin, but this is still a pretty good defense. Number 20 overall in beta rank. They're very good at drive efficiency, so they do find ways to get off the field, not give up points. Struggling with big plays though, 53 in explosive drives. That's something to watch out here. This Nebraska team can put up some big plays. It's what they're a little bit better at. Their play efficiency is at 25. Their negative drives is at 41. They are, so if you're going to, what is this Michigan defense pretty good at? They find ways to get off the field. They're pretty good at controlling the opponent's yards per play, but they are a bit susceptible still to giving up big plays within that. And they're not good at they're controlling for opponent field position. And I just practically spit on the mic. They've definitely struggled, right, to impose 3 and outs, impose turnovers, impose bad things on the opposing offense. Bit of a run pass split here for them, but in this case, it's in their favor. They're better against the run than they've been against the pass. This is going to be a decent test for this Michigan offense or this Michigan defense. I don't know that they've really been tested. Many of their big games like Washington and Wisconsin, those offenses are practically Paleolithic at this point. 2 of the very worst Power 5 offenses in all of college football right now for the Badgers and the Huskies. I'm interested to see where Michigan finishes out this game at. Michigan's got a 73% win probability in beta rank right now, just shy of 7 points of favorite on the road, 6.77. I like the Wolverines in this game, but if Nebraska finishes +1, +2 on turnovers, they're going to give Michigan all they can handle. The Red River Showdown. Sandbox. Anywho, you might have noticed beta rank has this quite a bit different than Vegas does and a lot of other people do, but Oklahoma's been scuffling along in the data. In beta rank right now, there is no preseason projection to hold the Sooners up anymore. They are just left with how they've been playing, and that's frankly not very good. This Texas team, however, they are playing pretty good, particularly of late. So Steve Sarkisian is your head coach for the Texas Longhorns. Of course, Lincoln Riley is your head coach for the Sooners. This Texas offense is good. Sarkisian is one of the best play callers in all of college football. They're since they switched over to Casey Thompson, they've been a really much more effective offense. They're still not asking Thompson to go out there and win games. Figuring out that you have Bijan Robinson on your roster is a pretty useful thing to figure out. So 6 in drive efficiency, they're able to string together drives to put up points. 11 in explosive plays, they're strong at putting up big plays too. 30 in play efficiency, a little bit of a struggle there. It's the least important of the core 4 beta rank metrics, so not the end of the world for sure. 12 in negative drives, they don't let the defense, put them in a hole. 3 and outs and turnovers aren't really as much of a problem for this Texas offense. Number 3 in effective rush, number 66 in effective pass. Like we talked about, they don't really ask Thompson to go out and win the game. What he's able to add in, I think, is just gravy on top for what they're looking, what they've been able to do. Of course, Sarkisian's your play caller here too. On the other side of the ball, Alex Grinch and this Oklahoma defense they're really scuffling along too. Now there's some positives here. I want to highlight, the positives, and those are the per play metrics, the yardage metrics. And if you, I'll say if you give up yards, you will eventually give up points. Oklahoma, where they have shined, is they've been better with controlling explosive drives, not giving up big plays, controlling for opponent in field position, not giving up yards per play, controlling for opponent in field position. They've been decent at forcing 3 and outs, forcing turnovers. Where they've struggled though is finding ways to get off the field and not give up long drives. 110 in drive efficiency, that's a really big problem for them. A lot of the really bad, and this Oklahoma defense has been scuffling along. You can put together long drives against them right now. They're going to have to find ways to get off the field. And even if they were closer to in drive efficiency, the rest of their metrics, and you were still talking about a top 25 defense-ish, Texas would still have an advantage. I mean, this is where Texas's numbers sit right now thus far are really good. No big run pass split for Oklahoma. They're going to have to, and I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, keep an eye on where the Sooners have, their safeties in this game and how they're trying to control the run game, because that's going to be important if they're going to stop this Texas offense. You flip it around, Lincoln Riley's your play caller for the Sooners, of course. They've really been struggling. What I just said about hey, there's positives. You put up yards, you'll eventually put up points, or you give up yards, you'll eventually give up points. Man, this Oklahoma offense, their number that is really good is that drive efficiency number, putting together long drives to put up points. But man, they struggle. Teams have figured out how to contain, and Rattler, if you look at his numbers year over year, he's taken a lot more of what's underneath. Teams have figured out how to take away big plays from this Oklahoma offense, and it's really limiting them. As an offense, they're at 77 in play efficiency, 41 in negative drives. They have a pretty decent run pass split. They're really struggling to run the football comparatively. And of course, with Rattler, you can throw the football around. This Texas defense ain't great. I mean, Kwiatkowski doesn't necessarily have these guys, fine-tuned in his system yet. I like him as a play caller. I thought it was a really good pickup for Sarkisian. I mean, I thought Grinch was a good pickup too for Riley. Number 11 in drive efficiency for them. So their watch, what they've been good at is what Oklahoma's been struggling, or what has been good at too. But they've struggled at containing big plays. Their play efficiency numbers not great at 87, 85 in negative drives there. They're at 44 in effective rush, 59 in effective pass. Of course, if you're facing Oklahoma, you'd like to be the other way there. But it's just interesting. There's plenty of tape out there already this season on how to contain Oklahoma's offense. You would assume Texas has absolutely watched that, and we'll see. I expect Oklahoma to get a lot of the same kind of looks teams have been throwing at them that they haven't been able to solve up to this point. So we'll see what they're able to do. Beta Rank has this, different than Vegas, like I said, and different than some systems that still have a lot of preseason weight in at this point. Beta Rank has it Texas with a 74% win probability, 7.28 in Dallas. Texas, unless they turn the ball over 2 times, they should, 1 or 2 times. One is going to make this just razor thin. A 1 turnover is probably going to, make this a razor thin game for the Longhorns. But you flip it around and, it's, they are absolutely 2 turnovers. They're probably going to lose. They could lose with 1 turnover. This should be a close, fun game. But, this Oklahoma team that we had projected at number 1, I'm just totally scuffing along this season. This should be kind of a fun one, too. So Lane Kiffin, of course, is your head coach of Ole Miss. Sam Pittman, your head coach for Arkansas. I'm excited for this game in particular to see this Ole Miss offense again against another pretty good defense. Jeff Lebby's your play caller for Ole Miss, number 7 in beta rank, number 13 in drive efficiency, putting together long drives to put up points, 13 in explosive plays, 26 in play efficiency. I mean, these numbers are good. There's not any real big splits here that you have to worry about early in the season. This is an offense that's likely going to grade out and rank in the top 10 all year. Number 8 in negative drives, not a real big run pass split for them. I mean, they've been a little more effective running the football, oddly enough. Some of that is, of course, Lebby comes over from that Baylor, spread them out and run the football system. But Corral's been terrific and taking advantage and lighting things up when he's given the opportunity. The defensive coordinator for Arkansas is Barry Odom. He's done a really good job getting this unit to a decent place. So where they really struggle right now is drive efficiency. They're giving up long drives and to put up points. But where they've been really good comparatively is in explosive drives, keeping teams from putting up big plays against them. Their play efficiency numbers okay at 27, controlling yards per play, controlling for opponent and field position. Negative drives, this is another good number for them. I mean, finding ways to put up, 3 and outs, put up turnovers. Pretty big run pass split for them. They're a lot better against the pass than they've been against the run. Some of that may be as we go through and level out the season, of course, that they got Georgia, and Georgia was pretty good at running the football. But I'm excited. I want to see this Lane Kiffin offense again, when they're not put in a real big hole, by their defense and potentially having to really try to keep up with a team like Alabama, and where they're taking, risk after risk in order to try to put up points. Cause you absolutely have to put up a lot of points, to be able to hang with Alabama. Flip it around on the other side of the football. This offense hasn't quite figured it out yet for Arkansas. They're at number 45 overall. That's the wrong side of a middling Power 5 offense. 27 in drive efficiency is really their best number. Your offensive play caller, sorry for them, is Kendall Briles, another Baylor disciple, of course, with the last name. And he actually used to coach with Kiffin at FAU. And then DJ Durkin that DJ Durkin is your defensive coordinator at Ole Miss. This offense, though, their drive efficiency is pretty good. They've been able to put together long drives to put up points, controlling for opponent field position. They've struggled. They have not been great at putting up big plays yet to this point. Their play efficiency is pretty good at 17. Their negative drives, they've really struggled. This is a kind of a consistency issue, too. I mean, they're not able to. They've had too many 3 and outs, too many turnovers, controlling for opponent and field position. I need to count how many times I say that. Probably too many times. I don't want somebody coming in halfway and like me not reminding people like, hey, these are adjusted numbers. But really big run pass split for them. That's something to keep an eye on, because as we come in for this, if you can take, I think, and this is true, if you can take away the Arkansas run game, like they're going to be in trouble. They're not at a point where they can win the game throwing the ball. This Ole Miss defense is all right. I mean, they're improved over where they were last year. 28 overall in beta rank. Their drive efficiency number is not great. You can put together long drives to put up points against them. They've been a little better controlling explosive drives. That's a decent number for them, and their play efficiency. They really struggle. They have not put up enough negative drives, not enough 3 and outs, not enough turnovers. They don't have a real big run pass split. I'm interested to see what this Arkansas offense is able to do. If they are able to run the football against them, that will be what I sort of want to watch out for Ole Miss coming into this game. For Lane Kiffin to kind of have a big breakout year this year, this defense is going to have to pull a little bit more of their weight. You don't want. I don't think this offense is good enough where they're going to get through unscathed. In the rest of their schedule, without some luck, right? Without some turnover luck, they're if they go out and the offense has a bad game, turns the ball over, this defense may not be good enough to save them, and I want to see if they might be. And this is a good game to see. I mean, this Arkansas offense is decent enough, and they'll have some opportunities in this game likely where they do have some good field position in order to put up some points. So beta rank has this as Ole Miss 74%. At home, 7.56 as a favorite there. This should be real tight as I chew some ice. Apologies. It's a bad habit. James Franklin, of course, is your coach for Penn State. Kirk Ferentz is your coach of the Iowa Hawkeyes. Man, this Iowa defense is so freaking good. We'll get to them in just a second. Your offensive coordinator for Penn State, Mike Yurcich, he's done a pretty good job, turning this around. This Penn State offense after Joe Moorhead left ended up in a little bit of a ditch. Ricky Rain couldn't really figure it out. Last year absolutely didn't work with Kirk Chiraka. I thought it would. But Yurcich, he's a good, smart play caller. This was a good hire, for Franklin. They've really turned it around. 14 in drive efficiency. They've been pretty good at putting together drives to put up points. 25 in explosive drives. Not great there, but they're decent, particularly compared to where they ended up last year, which was a mess. 31 in play efficiency, 31 in negative drives, where they are a lot better. And it's not surprising given the OC's background. They're a lot better throwing the football than they are running the ball right now. Sean Clifford has taken a step forward, in the new system. They get an Iowa defense. Phil Parker, one of the most underrated guys in all of college. People keep talking about Ferentz, and Parker just carries his butt. I mean, his back has to be sore. He's been carrying him for years. This defense right now, where they struggle, if you will, is in drive efficiency. It's 74 in drive efficiency right now. That number is just something to keep an eye on. If you are going to put up points against this Iowa team, you're going to have to drive the length of the field. Some teams have been somewhat able to do it. Turnovers are really driving a lot for this team at the moment. They have been on a hot streak on turnovers, but they are number 1 at containing explosive drives, number 6. And sorry, these are scaled to how big the offensive numbers are, because I always want to give people an idea of if you put this team up against the very best offensive unit at this particular measure, what would it grade out at? So, I mean, it's still the era of big offense in college football. Anyway, play efficiency at number 6 overall, number 1 in negative drives. I mean, they cause absolute havoc. Turnovers, 3 and outs. This is a great unit. No big run pass split. Number 6 in effective rush. Number 5 in effective pass. This is going to be a really tough game for this Penn. I mean, Iowa State's got a pretty good offense in the data that we've measured so far. They were able to really shut them down. Cause some turnovers, slow them down. I'm interested though. I think Penn State's got enough to potentially put Iowa in a hole. I mean, we'll see. I mean, a hole for this Iowa offense is like being down 7 and potentially not having the world's great. And it feels like they've had just great field position after great field position. Flip it around on the other side. This should be pretty interesting. Brian Ferentz, and a total nepotism hire as your offensive coordinator for the Hawkeyes. They've never been particularly good on offense since he's been there. They're not right now. 44 in beta rank and overall. 15 in drive efficiency, where they've scored some points. They've been, put together long drives to put up points. They're not great in explosive drives, controlling per opponent in field position. Number 68. Not great at play efficiency. Terrible at negative drives. Too many 3 and outs. Too many turnovers. No big run pass split for them here. They get a pretty decent defense under Brent Pry. Number 11 overall right now. They've been decent at drive efficiency at 32. Decent at explosive drives at 30. Where they really make their money, if you will, is they cause 3 and outs, they cause turnovers, they cause havoc. That's going to be something to see here. I mean, if Iowa, if you can out Iowa just a little bit and stay even with turnovers on the Hawkeyes, you got a chance to put them in a hole, because this offense is not good. The best unit. I mean, the best offense for this Iowa team has really been Phil Parker's defense again and again. So this is something to keep an eye on here. I think, and they don't have a real big run pass split either. They have given up some yards at points. I mean, if they can just keep Iowa, from having great field, let's say Penn State turns it over, Iowa gets some short field, but Penn State just needs to limit, the damage that Iowa does in those situations, hold them to field goals, because I do feel like it's, Penn State might be able to get to, 17 points in this game. Iowa might struggle to get to 17 points without some turnovers and field positions against this Penn State defense. So we've got this as a true toss-up right now. Pick'em game. It's just ever so slightly like 0.34 in the spread for Iowa, but in the win probability it's 0.5. I know it's an ACC game. So this Wake team has been one of the real positive surprises of this college football season. Dave Clawson's your head coach for the Demon Deacons. Babers is your head coach for the Orange. This Wake offense has been pretty good. They're at 30. Who do I got here? It's Warren Ruggiero. Is your offensive coordinator for the Deacons. They've been good. They're kind of in the middle of the road for a Power 5 offense. Number 19 overall in drive efficiency, number 44 in explosive drive. So when they have put up points, they've definitely kind of been more in the range of putting up long drives, controlling for opponent and field position. They've struggled a little bit with play efficiency. They've definitely struggled with their negative drives number. 3 and outs and turnovers. They've been a little susceptible to that. No big run pass split for them. They've been pretty balanced. This defense for Syracuse has definitely been the better of their units. Tony White is your defensive coordinator here. He came over from Arizona State, came through that rocky long 3-3-5 system. They've struggled with their drive efficiency. Teams have been able to put together long drives to put up points against them. They're at 36 in explosive drives, though. They contain big plays well. They contain your yards per play well, and they cause 3 and outs and turnovers pretty well. So underneath, I think this defense might be shaping up into something pretty good, actually. And that's something to keep an eye on as the year goes on. If they're able to improve and find ways to get off the field and not give up long drives, this defense might be something to watch. So they don't have a big run pass split either, but they are a little less effective against the run. That's something to keep an eye on here. This Wake offense, I think, is absolutely in the range of being good enough to be able to put up points here. But just keep an eye as this Syracuse defense, they might force a turnover or two in this game. Flip it around. When did Wake? Wake's got a really good defense. What? And it's all on one number, right? Like right now, they are absolutely finding ways to get off the field, even if they're giving up yards. That's not likely sustainable. Like, you give up yards, you will likely eventually give up points. Up to this point, however, it's worked, right? In a limited sample. We should probably talk about the Syracuse offense. I'm sorry. Sterling Gilbert is your offensive play caller for the Orange. Lyle Hemphill is your defensive coordinator for Wake. Man, and Dino Babers has a pretty decent offensive pedigree. They've really struggled offensively under Babers up there. 82 in drive efficiency. They struggle to put together long drives to put up points. This is a really bad Power 5 offense. 52 in explosive drives, just not enough big plays. They struggle at negative drives. Too many 3 and outs, too many turnovers. What they're decent at running the football, but they match that up with a passing offense that you don't in any way have to worry about. So you can absolutely try to stack up and take away the run with Syracuse without having to worry too much about what might happen, with them trying to go over your head. Wake, as I was just alluding to, they find ways to get off the field. Number 1 in drive efficiency. But if you look at it, their explosive drives and play efficiency, like, they've absolutely given up some yards. They've absolutely given up some big plays, but they've found ways to get off the field, not give up points. That is not likely sustainable over the entire season. So that's something to keep an eye on. I think this defense could come back to earth a little bit. Their negative drives number is pretty good. Number 20 there, forcing 3 and outs, forcing turnovers, forcing bad things on the offense. That certainly helps when you to get that drive efficiency number in a better place. They have they're much better against the run than they are against the pass. I don't think this defense is like, I don't think it's 74 bad, but I do think they're probably closer to the 40s and may fall into that range. as the season goes on a little bit. And that's fine. I mean, I still think that's a decent defense. Wake is a tiny school, hard to recruit to. I mean, I think that's still a decent defense for them, and where the offense maybe and where the ACC is, they have a shot for a pretty decent year, all in all. But this Syracuse defense or, offense, they should be able to, because of the inefficiency that the Orange have, they should absolutely be able to line up and take away the run a little bit. However, this is on the road. We've only got, Wake, even though this is and it's one of the interesting things that I try to tell people about college football, like the distance between teams as you get further out in the distribution, like towards the very top end of the ranking or the very bottom end of the ranking, the distance between teams grows. And so the very, very, very good teams are better. Like number 1 is often better than, the gap between 1 and 10 is larger than the gap between 10 and 20. And sometimes it's larger than the gap between, like 10 and 30. So at this point, we're looking at 17 versus 67. Beta rank only has Wake Forest favored by a little over a touchdown, 7.66. It's got this as Wake is a 77% win probability. Keep an eye on this. I mean, if the Demon Deacons turn the ball over on the road, this could go sideways for them. So this could be a closer game than you might expect. This is a fun one. This is a fun one. So this actually gets the 3:30 on ABC treatment, which is great. Like that's awesome. From Lavelle Edwards Stadium in Provo. So BYU, coached by Kalani Sitake. Andy Avalos is your head coach at Boise. This BYU team, they're not at number 10. They're not in the top 10 like you might see in the human polls, but they're pretty good. This is a decent group of 5 teams, soon to be a Power 5 team. Number 33 on offense and beta rank right now. Their drive efficiency numbers solid. They're in 41 in explosive drives. Their play efficiency is a little less so. I mean, they struggled sometimes to put up the consistent yards per play. Negative drives, susceptible to 3 and outs, susceptible to turnovers. A little bit of a run pass split. They've been more effective running the ball than they have throwing the ball. Just something to keep an eye on is in a couple of their games, really the deciding factor has been Hall, their quarterback, and his legs, right? And running the football. It's mattered against Utah. It mattered against Arizona State. He's able to do enough with his legs to really do some damage there. Boise State comes in. The defense has been pretty good this season. And Aaron Roderick's your OC for BYU. Spencer Danielson is your DC for Boise. 20 in drive efficiency. They do find ways to get off the field and not give up, points. Where they struggle right now is putting up, containing big plays at 57. Their play efficiency is not great at 64. What they've been good at, though, really good at is, negative drives, forcing 3 and outs, forcing turnovers. That's something to keep an eye on in this game with this BYU offense, which can get bogged down a little bit sometimes. No big run pass split for them to keep an eye on in this game. They've been pretty good at both. Flip it around. This Boise offense, they are struggling a little bit. And, Tim Plow is your offensive coordinator here. Where they're really struggling, and we talk about this, like if you put up yards, you will eventually put up points. They're struggling because, sorry, I'm looking at this Houston Tulane game a little bit. Sorry, my apologies. It is, if you give up yards, you will put up yards, you'll eventually put up points. So they're putting up yards. They're just not finishing drives. They're not finding ways to cap it off and put points up. They're at 36 in explosive drives, but 94 in drive efficiency and 45 in play efficiency. I mean, just, that kind of split tells you like eventually they will solve a lot of these consistency issues and be able to put up points. Under the hood, this might be a little bit of a better offense than we've seen so far, and it might be just mistakes that are holding them back. They do have a huge run pass split, though. They're not a great team running the football. If you're going to slow down this offense, you have to slow them down. You have to slow them down throwing the football. That's a little bit of a problem for BYU in a lot of ways. So, number 38 right now, on defense and beta rank for them. Elisa Tuiaki is your defensive coordinator for BYU. They've been good, and we just talked about this with Boise. They've been good at their yards metrics. They've been less good at making sure that they stay off the field. So controlling for opponent in field position, 21 in explosive drives. They haven't given up a lot of big plays. Their play efficiency is pretty good. Negative drives, again, pretty good. Where they struggle is, you can put together long drives to score on them. But they've got a pretty decent run pass split. They've been a lot better against the run than they have against the pass. Arizona, of all freaking teams, and Gunnar Cruz, who could not make a decision to save his life, threw for a lot of yards against this BYU team. I mean, Gunnar Cruz is on the bench and is only coming back in for Arizona if McLeod gets hurt. And if he does, Arizona's going to be awful on offense. I mean, that's just something to keep an eye on here. I mean, Boise, this might play this big run pass split for BYU might play a little bit into their hands. So that's just something to watch out here for. This should be a tight game. BYU 65%. 4.84. BYU's also had some turnover luck, quite a bit of turnover luck so far this season. If it were to flip the other way, they could drop this game, right? And this game projects to be close enough that you could certainly see that. So, they're going to need a little bit of the turnover luck, or at least break even in this case to win this. If Boise finishes in the positive range on turnovers, they're likely going to win the game. So just keep an eye on that there. But this should be a real fun one. I'm excited. I think this Boise offense has a shot to maybe potentially keep up. So that's it. Let's go ahead and wrap it up, because it's already on Thursday night. I've done almost a little over 37 minutes. I'm excited. When this gets to be Saturday morning, of course, I won't be with you. I won't be with you in the morning, literally doing this live. It will be in spirit, but I will kick it off and have it uploaded. Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's do the thing. Let's just knock it out. I'm Rob Bowen. I'm the econometrician behind BetaRank. You can find all the stats you just saw and a whole lot more at sharpcollegefootball.com. You can find me at BetaRankFB or at sharpcollegefootball on the Twitter machine. We have a Pac-12 podcast at 12-Pack Radio, and you can find all the back episodes of that at sharpcollegefootball.com/12-Pack Radio. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Stay safe out there. Really looking forward to this slate of games.